Okay, welcome everyone to the November HMIS user meeting. If you haven't already, please enter your agency name into the chat box so we know who's participating. So for our agenda today, we wanted to give you an update on access roles in HMIS, as well as the new program-specific data elements, data completeness dashboards. We also wanted to go over the different looker models that are available for users to access in HMIS, as well as the duplicates report. We have an update on our intake forms and the agency audits. And then we will wrap up with a webinar update, as well as an update on the data and performance management meeting and the upcoming holiday. And we should have some time at the end for some Q&A if anyone has any questions they would like to go over. So the first update is access rule revisions. So in this update mostly only applies to users that have access to more than one agency in HMIS. So if you or your users only have access to your own agency's data, this doesn't really apply to you. But moving forward, agency administrators that have access to other agencies in HMIS will no longer have access to delete data at those other agencies. And coordinated entry users will no longer have access to edit, add, or make other updates to housing opportunity data at agencies that are not their primary agency. So that's the default setting for both of those user roles. But when an agency administrator makes a request to give a user from another agency access to their agency's data, that agency administrator can say, yes, I want this user to have delete access, or yes, I want this user to have access to edit or update housing opportunities. So the functionality is not completely gone, it's just not the default setting anymore. So I'm checking to see if there's any questions about this before I move on. A lot of participants today, welcome everyone. All right, I'm not seeing any questions, I'm gonna keep going. The next update is the program-specific data elements, data completeness dashboard. It's a mouthful. So the PSDE data completeness dashboards have been published for both entry and exit data. Right now, these dashboards focus on data elements that are collected at entry and exit and are required for almost all projects and project types. There are a couple exceptions, but in most cases, your agency should be looking at these dashboards to review the completeness of your data for these data elements. We are also working on dashboards for the different specific federal funding sources, since they have some additional data that needs to be collected. And we will be publishing those at a future date and sharing those at a future meeting. And to kind of go along with these new dashboards, we also have developed a data quality corrections reference guide for these data elements. So I'll have Armando talk about that in a minute, but I wanted to give you a quick sample of what these dashboards look like. So the format of the dashboards will be very similar to the universal data elements data completeness dashboard that most of you are hopefully already familiar with. There will be a specific chart for each data element. And each project at your agency will have a separate row on the dashboard for each data element. And then you will see if the data entered is a valid response, meaning that it is filled and is not don't know, refused, data not collected. If it's missing, it is either data not collected or blank data, or you can also see client doesn't know or client refused responses. And so the purpose of the dashboard is to help you review your data and find those responses that are not considered valid and potentially make updates wherever possible. So there's about 6 more data elements in addition to these that will be on the dashboard. So it's all the income source information, non-cash, health insurance, the different disability types, and the domestic violence questions. And we have also included on each chart if there's any special requirements or exclusions for the data element. So you can see this one says not required for coordinated entry. And then some of the disability types are not required for SSVF. So those are all listed on the dashboard to help you with your data quality process. And we also have a data completeness dashboard details report. So it's like a CSV or Excel type file. There's a separate row for each client, and it will list all of their responses for their data elements at entry or exit. And so you will be able to use this report to find corrections and find those clients that are causing you to have less than valid responses to any of the data elements. So like, for example, here in the income missing column, you can see it's yes for this client. So you'd be able to go to their enrollment and resolve their income issue. And so these dashboards are available for both the entry and exit data, and they are in Clarity now. So you're welcome to use these as soon as you'd like. We recommend at least monthly reviewing this data. And the goal in the future is to start incorporating the entry and exit data in our data quality report cards. We're not there yet. We wanted to give the agencies time to start reviewing this data and incorporate it into their processes. But in the future, this will start to be included in the report cards, but we will let everyone know before that happens. So that's all I wanted to share. So I'll pass it to Armando to go over the reference guide.
Hi, everybody. You all may be very familiar with the Universal Data Element Data Quality Corrections Reference Guide, which looks very similar to the one that's on the screen here. This reference guide is a new one that's been created. This one is tailored to focus on the program-specific data elements. And so listed on here in rows are all of the different data elements that Erin just shared on her screen. You'll notice that it is specified the exact column that you'll be able to reference the information in these data elements. Knowing which data element number, for example, income is data element 4.02, is also, those notes are also to help you be able to reference the new fiscal year 2022 data standards manual that's been updated in case you want to flip through that and get any additional information on any of those data fields. On the right of this reference guide, you'll be able to see the 2 types of errors that may come up. Either the information would be missing or a response was entered as client doesn't know or client refused that you'll be able to reference. Erin had also mentioned that there's a column on this report that specifies if there are any funding sources or specific project types that are exempt from collecting any of the data elements. So that should be really helpful for you as well. But if there are any questions that you or your staff have as you're using this tool to go over your data quality correction spreadsheets, please feel free to send us over a ticket and we'll be sure to provide additional assistance.
And this guide is also published and available on our website, and we will also include it in the meeting minutes. All right. I'm not seeing any questions, so I'm going to keep going. Elizabeth.
Good morning, everyone. We wanted to discuss some of the most used Looker models with you all. The HMIS performance model is typically the most used model because this model will have the fields your agency would be interested in reviewing. Some of the fields are notes, location, exit, demographic data, and services. This model requires that a client has an enrollment within a project for the data to be pulled within the reporting period. The client model does not require to be attached to enrollments during the reporting period to appear in this report. This is the only model that will include deleted data. For example, one of the deleted data that may appear in the report is if a client had a duplicate program enrollment. This means the client was enrolled into the same project and one is an error. And later, one of the enrollment was deleted. You will need to add the enrollment deleted filter and set it to no to exclude any of those deleted enrollments so that the report is only pulling accurate and current data that is in Clarity. And you can see to the right, the filter. So you'll have to set that filter to make sure that you're excluding any deleted data. And in the second photo at the bottom, for any filters that you have a question about, you can highlight the eye icon to get a little bit of more description on that filter. So when you use the client model, please keep in mind that you need to search deleted so you get a list of filters that will appear so you can ensure you're excluding deleted data you don't want in your report. The service model collects data on services provided by an agency that's recorded in Clarity and contains many of the same dimension as the HMIS performance model. The project descriptor model contains information about an agency's project setup, bed and unit inventory, and staff. There's no client data included in this model. You may use this model to have an overview of a project setup and user information such as activity log. Does anyone have questions about some of the Looker models we have?
I'm not seeing any questions, so we can keep going. And if anyone thinks of anything later, feel free to put it in the chat and we can always come back. All right, Heather.
Good morning, everyone. To support your ongoing efforts to monitor and resolve data quality issues, we wanted to provide this reminder of the duplicate client report available in Clarity. Running this report will identify potential duplicate clients by looking at matches for client name, social security number, and date of birth. To access the duplicate client report, navigate to the Launchpad and click on Reports. From the Report Library tab, click the drop-down caret next to Data Quality Reports to find the duplicate report. So you can see this example of the duplicate client report, and you can see this client, Homer Simpson, has about 7 duplicate entries. And so you could locate their unique ID and then fix these errors. Additional assistance on running Clarity reports will be provided in the link to running HMIS canned reports in the meeting minutes.
And also, if you do need to complete merges for client records, please submit a ticket and we can do those for you. We rely on you to identify them since you know these clients and know whether they are true duplicates, but the merge will need to be completed by 2/1. All right, I'm not seeing any questions. Oh, hold on. Carmen asked, what do you mean by fix the client? So that if you see a client, let me go back. So in this case, when you run the report, you can see Homer Simpson, and in the unique ID column, he's got a bunch of different unique IDs. And so those would most likely be client records that need to be merged, especially since their social security number and date of birth are the same. So in that case, you would contact us and let us know that there are 2 IDs that need to be merged. Include the unique ID for all of the clients that need to be merged and let us know which one should be the primary record, which is the record that is the most accurate. And if there's conflicting information, the primary record is what is used to merge the records. Another question, is there ever a case when we can fix the client ourselves? If it needs to be merged, no. If it's a situation where maybe some of the identifying information is incorrect, like the SSN or date of birth or name, you can fix those. Just as a warning, when you do that, you'll get a pop-up in Looker or in Clarity that says, is this right that you want to change this information? But yes, you can fix those yourselves. But if a merge needs to happen, then we would need to do that. All right, go ahead, Heather.
Okay. The 2022 OCHMIS project intake forms are available in English for use. They incorporate the recent changes to the HUD data standards. In addition to the general COC intake forms, separate forms are available for projects that receive HOPWA, PATH, RI, SSVF, and VASH funding. Let me share my screen and I'll show you where we can find these forms.
Go ahead.
Oh, thanks. Whoops. Okay. Second, just a minute. Thank you for that. All right, shall we try this again? So we've got our website, the forms and documents, the client forms and notices, and then the list of additional and available forms you'll need. And if you click on one of them at the very top, you'll see the intake form.
All right. Thank you, Heather. We got through it in the end. All right. I'm not seeing any questions. So Armando.
Hi, everybody. Adding on to this same announcement, we also have available up on our website updated copies of the Spanish translated versions of the intake forms. This is reflecting the new fiscal year data standard changes and updates. For the intake form in Spanish is available for all of the same programs. So that's the COC ESG funded projects, HOPWA, PATH, RI, SSVF, and the VASH projects. Keep an eye out, we're also going to be rolling out Spanish translated versions of the updated project exit and annual assessment forms very soon. And we'll be sure to pass along the announcement once those are ready on our website as well.
Okay, yes, we did get a question if there are exit forms. Yes, there will be exit forms. We're still finalizing those and they'll be released in the next week or so, but we didn't want to hold back the intake forms while we were waiting. And yes, we got a follow-up question. Will there be changes made to the status assessment and exit forms? Yes, those will be coming out in the next couple weeks. All right. Is this Diana or Linda? Diana?
Can you share your screen, Erin? I'm not seeing anything.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if it's me. Okay, yes, it is. Good morning, everyone. If you did participate in our previous training webinar, thank you for joining. In October, we presented the HMIS Part 2 training. Please refer to our website regarding the recorded training and slides. Okay, next one. So we wanted to make an announcement here. We will be discontinuing the live training, monthly training webinars. We did have a discussion with the agency administrators regarding this, and we did notice in the last several trainings that our viewership was down. And so because the content really hasn't changed too much between the different trainings, we felt like we could go ahead and discontinue it at this point. We are currently working on getting the webinars added to the beginning and the end of our training courses so that they will still be available for new users. We will also be having live webinars when there are changes to HMIS that require us to update the training material. And we will be notifying you the same way that we usually do for our monthly training webinars, that you'll get an email saying, we're going to have a webinar on this date and please register if you would like to attend. Going forward, like I said, these will be changes to HMIS, so we encourage you to attend these webinars when we do have them available. So do keep an eye out for those notifications. And finally, the training webinars are available on our YouTube channel. During the audits, we've heard from a lot of agency administrators that they weren't aware that we do have a YouTube channel. And that's where all of our videos are, for example, for this user meeting, our trainings, and various helpful videos regarding HMIS and Clarity and Looker. So it's a very valuable resource that I encourage you to check out. And all of this will be provided in our wrap-up email. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Just wanted to thank those who have participated in our 2021 HMIS agency audit so far. We are getting close to the end, but we do have a couple more rounds of scheduling emails that we have to send out. So please be sure to check your inbox, to check your junk folder as a response is required to schedule your agency audit. So we do look forward to meeting with you. So this month's data performance and management meeting has been canceled. However, we will be publishing the Rapid Rehousing Project Performance Report, and we will be sending out an email once that has been published on our website.
All right, before we move on, I did get a question. I guess maybe I'll wait for the Q&A and then I'll get into that question. Jonathan?
Hello, everyone. So on Thursday, on Friday, November 25th and 26th, we'll be celebrating Thanksgiving. So HMIS help desk will be closed on those days.
So please be patient with us and we will get back to you after the holiday. All right, so Q&A. I got a question. This question applies to those agencies that are receiving COC funded permanent supportive housing funds. And so as part of the data standards changes, we are now required to collect clients that have received moving on assistance. And so there are services that need to be collected regarding that activity. And so HUD has 4 or 5 services that are already set up and available in HMIS for your agencies. But one of the other options in the data standards is other. And we received guidance from BitFocus to reach out to the permanent supportive housing providers to ask if there are any other services that are provided for moving on assistance in addition to those HUD standard fields. So each permanent supportive housing provider has received an email with a little more detail on that request. So if you haven't already, please review that email and provide a response so we can make sure that your COC funded projects are set up correctly to track this data. And if you are not the, if you're collaborating with another agency to provide the services on the moving on assistance, please let us know and we can work with you to make sure that whoever is providing that moving on assistance in relation to your project has access to complete those services. And if you do not provide any moving on assistance, you don't need to worry about this. If you can just respond to the email and say, you know, we don't do this, then that's fine and we can all move on with our lives. All right, so if you have any other questions, please put them into the chat and we can talk about those as well. All right, we got another question. At the beginning of the presentation, you discussed that an admin could no longer delete client information for anybody outside of their agency. Does that mean that all of those requests will now be submitted to the OCHMIS help desk? No. So first, to just kind of give you an overview, each user is set up at a primary agency. So this is the agency that you are employed with or otherwise are primarily associated with. And then, so there are agency administrators and users at each primary agency. And the agency administrators at their primary agency can delete data. So if a user has additional agency access to another agency in HMIS, they would need to contact the agency administrator at the primary agency to delete that data. Since those agency administrators are ultimately responsible for their data, they should be the ones that are deleting data. So you would work with them. And again, you can discuss with those primary agency administrators, if you feel like you do need that delete access, you can discuss it with them. And if they agree, they can let us know to give you that access. Another question, I'm trying to find the webinar that discusses the client level reports shown on the client profile page.
There's another, I asked another question before that, Amber, Aaron, do you have a catalog or index to identify which recorded webinars talk about a specific subject?
We have the meeting minutes, but we don't have like a page that outlines them all. But we can, if we find it, I can include it in the minutes for you. It might have been a little while ago that happened, or if we have a knowledge base, then we can include that in the meeting minutes. Any other questions before we wrap up for the day? If you haven't already, please enter your agency name into the chat box. We know who's participating. Our next meeting is scheduled for December 1st at 10 a.m. The agenda for the meeting will be sent out a few days prior to the meeting. And following this meeting, we will send out the meeting minutes as well as the recording and the slides, and it should go out by early next week. We got another question. Can you show us where to find the dashboard for data completeness? Sure. Just a minute. All right, so the new dashboards, you will first click on your launch pad here in the upper right corner and click on reports. That will take you to your report library. You can go to the data analysis tab and click on Orange County Clarity System reports. And if you scroll down to the data quality section, these are all the reports that we currently have available. So in the past, we've discussed the data accuracy dashboard. That's here. We also have our data timeliness reports that we've talked about in the past. And then the new reports that I just mentioned today are the program specific data element entry, data completeness dashboard, and then the details, as well as the exit dashboard and details. So for any of these new reports, you will click on run and you'll be able to view the data for your agency. And we will also include the KB articles to help you navigate to the screen. And as a reminder, we also have the universal data completeness dashboards. Those are here also. And so you can click on run for those. And those are data elements that are usually collected on the profile screen, like name, gender, date of birth, that kind of stuff. All right, I'll give it one more minute, see if any other questions come in. Good questions today, you guys. Difference between program-specific data elements and universal data elements. So universal data elements are required for everyone in HMIS to collect. And they are, like I said, mostly data elements that are collected on the profile screen. So it's like name, date of birth. So this is the profile screen. All of these are universal data elements and they're required by all projects. The program-specific data elements are required for many projects, but not necessarily all. And they are the data elements that are collected on the enrollment screen. So prior living situation, or maybe not prior living situation, that's a bad example. The disability types, like physical health disability, developmental disability, domestic violence, the income, non-cash, all that kind of stuff is a program-specific data element. All right, I'm not seeing any other questions come in, so we're going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for attending and sharing your questions. And we will see you on the next meeting. Have a good day, everybody.